August of 2026 could be the best time I've seen in the past 5 or 6 years to buy a truck. And I'm going to show you some prices here shortly. Guys, I'm not kidding. I have been looking at trucks. I bought a truck last year. I'm going to run through some prices and powertrains and options that I think are just unbelievable values right now. And I have not seen prices this low since 2020, maybe 2021. And I think you guys are going to agree. So I think the bigger question is, are you someone that would actually buy one of these vehicles even at, let's call it a mild dip, not quite crashing prices, but I think it's a mild dip compared to what we've seen over the past 5 years. So traditionally in August, right before kids go back to school, the sales are down for automakers. They're starting to run a lot of sales, whether it's financing deals or a ton of money off these vehicles. So I really think when you see these prices, you're going to go, okay. So I went to my Ram dealer recently, just local, and they had a full lot. So you could just pretty much pick any color, any trim. And then I talked to the salesman and he told me, hey, look, this isn't all we got. We got like 250 trucks sitting at an offsite lot. And they were asking me if I wanted to get a different truck. I'm like, dude, my truck's a 2026. Why would I do that? They're not desperate, but they're kind of getting there. And that just means a better deal for you, better options for people. So I think this is turning into a buyer's market even more so than it was a year ago. And I started looking at my Ram Rebel. So this is a Rebel. I bought a green one. You know, the color is not going to make that big of a difference here. The same truck that I purchased 1 year ago. I paid about $57,000 plus tax. I had to haggle to get that. Like that was pretty much as low a price as I could find, at least in Colorado. I could have flown to another state and got a better deal. But if you're looking for a Ram, a Rebel, a Warlock, any of these value trims, and even the RHO, I'll show you here in a sec, there are some absolutely crazy prices, and it's because they have a ton of stock and they have the best warranty. I have no idea why people come into the comments and other places and say, yeah, but it's Stellantis. Go drive these trucks. Go look at reliability data with any of these vehicles. You could get a GM, Toyota, a Ram, whatever. You could have a failure in any of them. That's just how they're built. So the price on this, the all-in total price is $48,867. Now this is a nationwide search. So if I just scroll down, look at all these Rebels. This is on cars.com if you guys are wondering. Now you might say, okay, that's not fair because I bought it in Colorado. I should kind of compare to the same location I bought it. That's fine. This is Colorado only. So the cheapest Rebel I can find here is $51,397. So when I was shopping, that price would have shown up at about probably $59,000, $60,000, maybe at $58,000. So we're talking a $7,000 swap in 1 year. These are that much lower. And that's without haggling. You could probably go in and haggle a little bit, but you're walking in and getting an extremely good price on a vehicle, in my opinion. These things sticker out at about, I don't know, $65,000 to $68,000. And look, guys, I got to admit, I was kind of looking at the RHO because, you know, every Rebel owner has that envy for an RHO. Look at a 2026 RHO, $66,000. Boy, that stings a little bit. It stings a little bit because I bought mine last year, the Rebel, for, you know, just under 60. I probably would have jumped to that. Like if I saw that truck available when I bought my Rebel, I probably would have jumped to the RHO. So RHOs aren't discounted as heavily in Colorado. They're about $69,000, but still that's better than when I was looking. The Warlock, I don't know if you're familiar with this trim, but as far as comparing it to other brands, like if I compare a Warlock to a Toyota, I'm looking at, that's comparable to probably an SR5 with a TRD package. These things are at least $6,000, $7,000 less than a Toyota Tundra. Standard output Hurricane has been reliable, their transmissions have been reliable, and they come with more skid plates. But that's an insane value, I think. In 2026, going into 2027, I think this with a 10-year warranty, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, on any of these Rams you buy, I can't find a better deal out there. It's better than anything GM's offering for that price. At least in my area, I don't know how Ram's doing it. I don't know if they're just trying to grab market share, but they've discounted stuff really heavily. And I know there's still going to be people in the comments that say these are too overpriced. Look, you could buy 2 Warlocks with tax, and you'd probably still be less than a Denali Ultimate truck. Or a Denali trim. Like, how wild is that? And how much do people really get to use that leather and all the other features in the General Motors when the thing's in the shop. This is an old sticker from a 2019 model year Ram Rebel 1500. So the sticker's $60,595. That was with a Hemi. Now, if you were comparing that to today's sticker prices, you'd probably be at like $68,000, right in that range. Back in 2000, even 2019, 2020, someone would have been pretty excited to get that truck for like 50 grand range. And that's almost what they're at now. Even if we say, oh, that's not what they used to cost before 2020. Look, here's the price. Here's a sticker from 2019. And what's weird to me on a value trim like the Warlock, people get all the things that I always see these comments. People are like, I want cloth seats. I don't want all this tech. The Warlock kind of has all that, and then it still has all the skid plates and 33s from the factory and Bilstein shocks, and it's like a really good package. And you still get some stuff, like you want your steering wheel controls, but then you get nice stuff like this climate control right here. You get all that physical buttons if you're wearing gloves. Like most people kind of want this still. You don't get this massive screen. You still get a rear axle lock, and they're equipped just fine. You know, they're not going to be super flashy like the Rebel or the RHO, but everybody says in the comments, like I see comments all the time saying this is all they want. Well, here it is. You can get it down in the low 40s now. And it's got a standard output Hurricane, pushing almost 500 foot-pounds of torque. It's got a ZF transmission. It's been reliable, and you can get it with a Hemi. And guys, look, when I was looking even a year ago, these prices didn't exist for F-150s either. This is a 2026 F-150 STX. I get it, like the STX isn't for everybody, but it's a very common trim, and it's a pretty nice trim. Like I drove the XLT and the STX. I think they're fine. Like most people are going to be totally fine with that. The 2.7 liter has plenty of power. They're getting rid of the 2.7, which I think is a mistake from Ford. It has port injection, direct injection. It's been an ultra reliable engine for them. People love the 2.7. It's a known quantity. You don't have a bunch of cam phaser issues. It's just been super reliable. $42,548 for this truck. And I'll jump through some photos here. Like, it's not a bad looking truck to me. And this is at one of my local dealers. It's going to have cloth, but you're going to get something like, it's not going to have that bench. You're going to get the full console in the middle. And honestly, Ford's interiors, when I was driving them, I really liked this center layout. Like I liked where the buttons were for the climate control. I like the size of the screen. It was kind of that, it's not too big of a screen, but it's not too small. That all felt pretty good to me in the Ford. I like the layout of most of this stuff. I don't know, they were just functional. They were kind of utilitarian, and the interiors weren't at the quality level of a Ram. But, you know, $42,000 for this truck, it's not that bad of a price for what you're getting. In my opinion, in 2026, I think this is a pretty good deal. Look at that. You could touch it with your gloves and everything will work. No touch screen crap for your climate control. And if you jump up to the XLT in the Fords, you're sitting at $43,799, still going to have the 2.7. And then even jumping up to something like this Lariat package, $55,799. When I was looking a year ago, I think we were in like the low 50s for XLTs where I was looking locally. And prices have just changed. You can't deny that prices have at least come down to a much more reasonable value than they were. They're still high, but for a Lariat, you know, that's not the end of the world for the price. I mean, you're getting leather, you're getting a lot of options that you're not going to get in the XLT and the STX. You guys tell me what you think in the comments. And if you get lucky around here, you can pick up a Tremor for around $58,000. Now, if I was comparing the Rebel to the Tremor, I'd still be picking the Rebel at $52,000 versus the Tremor. I think it's just a better vehicle overall, but that's my opinion. I mean, a lot of guys would love to get this and throw the 5.0 in it. So now let's compare the price to, say, this GMC Sierra. This is a 1500 elevation with the 2.7 liter TurboMax, which most guys don't want. They're not TurboMax dudes. They don't want a 4-cylinder turbo in their truck. This thing is $48,000. This is the cheapest one I could find near me. It's red, 2.9% for 72 months. You're not going to find anyone that's going to drive this and then drive a Ram Hurricane and probably pick this over, say, something like a Warlock or a Rebel. This is an elevation package, so I think the screen and things are going to be a little different, a little nicer inside, but it's not going to be as off-roady. It's not going to have the same tire package, the same shock package, unless you get the X31. The warranty's not going to be as good on General Motors either. You've got to worry about the 10-speed a little bit more. It doesn't have a ZF transmission, but at least it has the 2.7 TurboMax. Let's go find a 5.3 or a Duramax. So here's a 2026 Sierra 1500 with the 5.3 liter. Honestly, this is just a double cab. It's not even a full crew cab. Who's going to buy that at $50,000? This is the cheapest one I could find listed, when you could buy a Rebel for $52,000 with a standard output Hurricane. I can't imagine anyone going for this over a Ram at this point, unless you have so much brand loyalty you just can't get over it. But that's me. You guys let me know in the comments. What am I missing here? And not to mention, General Motors is about to release 2 new V8s, the outgoing, the 5.3 and the L87 6.2. Everybody's gun shy with both of those engines because the 5.3, it's usually good up until about 80,000 miles and people start worrying about lifters. And then the 6.2, people don't want to drive them anymore because they're just popping left and right. So why would anyone buy one of these? I mean, they're going to have to give them away here soon. You know, honestly, I think probably the biggest reason why someone would buy GM's 5.3 is that they've had good luck with them in the past. They'll use the DFM disabler, and there are those types of people out there. They don't want a turbo platform, and they trust GM. And I think GM knows this. They're getting a lot more inquiries about the Duramax because the 6.2s are failing. So guys that normally would buy a 6.2 liter, they're probably going to buy a Duramax, the 3-liter Duramax instead, or they're going to jump up to the 6.6 and either the gas or the Duramax there. These are $54,820 for a Duramax. That's the lowest price Duramax I could find. And I would personally, if I was looking at a GM, that's probably the engine I would want. If you follow Demon Works on YouTube, he is pretty convinced that those thrust bearing issues are behind us, but time will tell. I'm still kind of scouring the forums for that. Now, this is one of the most discounted Tundras I could find near me. So look at this, a 2026 Toyota Tundra SR5. Now, Toyota's pushing the 2.99% for 72 months, so you're going to pay more, but they'll probably hold their value a little bit better than a Ram. So you're going to pay $54,000 for essentially what is kind of the same thing as a Warlock. Like the screen is a similar size. You might get a couple more features in that TRD SR5, but not many. It's going to be real similar to what that Warlock is for, I don't know, what is that, $9,000 more, something like that? Depending on where you're at, might be like $5,000 to $7,000 more. You just got to really want a Toyota if you're comparing that to Ram right now. And Toyota does have good lease deals. They've got good financing deals. I just, comparatively speaking, you're going to save so much up front in a Ram. It's like if resale is worse than the Ram, it's going to be the same ratio. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Am I crazy? I think these prices and the selection that we have, it's probably as good as it's been since COVID. This is the best I've seen stock. It's the best prices I've seen. It's the best incentives. It feels a lot more to me when I go on a lot today and I talk to the dealerships, I talk to the salespeople. It feels like back in 2017 when I bought my Toyota Tundra. You could just go to a lot, pick your color, pick your trim. Like there was just no fuss. There was no markups. There's no such thing as dealer markups over manufacturers. So I'm glad we're getting back to that. Me personally, I'm just glad that we're back to that point. I hope there's not some event or something that screws this up. I worry that AI is going to screw this up because it's pulling all the RAM and the SD chips, all the silicon's going to AI right now. And so I think that's going to drive prices up of trucks eventually if that continues. But if the AI bubble kind of bursts or maybe it dies down a little bit, we shouldn't see too much of a jump in vehicles. But that's my biggest concern, is some stupid supply disruption that changes prices again. But what trim would you pick? What vehicle? Have you noticed this? Who cares about the market crashing or not? You haven't even haggled yet at these prices. These prices did not exist a year ago. I've been looking. I look at this stuff every week. As always, thanks for watching. Till next time.